There's a quiet age in a man's life where every financial mistake stops being recoverable. It's not 30, it's not 50, it's 42, and by the time most men feel it, they've already walked into at least 3 of the 5 traps I'm about to show you. I've spent the last decade studying why men in this exact decade, between 40 and 49, end up financially behind men who earn half their income. And the pattern is so consistent, it's almost mathematical. Quick note before we start, this content is for educational and psychological awareness purposes only. Nothing here is financial advice. I'm sharing observations, math, and behavioral patterns so you can make better decisions for yourself. If you're watching this, you're probably somewhere between 38 and 52. Maybe your income has never been higher. Maybe you've got a house, a family, some investments. On paper, you look successful. But somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this quiet voice asking the same question every morning: do I feel financially behind when I'm earning more than I ever have? That feeling isn't your imagination. It's the signal of trap number 3, and I'll explain exactly why it shows up in your 40s and nowhere else. But before we get there, we need to start with trap number 1, the one that 78% of men in their 40s don't even realize they're standing inside of. Let's break it down. Trap number 1. The income lifestyle lockstep story. In 2019, an economist named Thomas Stanley, the same guy who wrote The Millionaire Next Door, published one of the most uncomfortable findings of his career. He studied thousands of households across America and discovered something strange. Men whose income doubled between the ages of 35 and 45 did not, on average, become wealthier. In fact, by age 50, many of them had a lower net worth than men whose income stayed exactly the same. Now think about that for a second. You'd assume the guy earning $180,000 would be richer than the guy earning $90,000. The math seems obvious, but the math wasn't telling the truth. Behavior was. The mechanism. Here's what actually happens in your 40s. Your career hits a stride. You get a promotion, a bigger title, maybe a bonus. Your income jumps, let's say from $90,000 to $140,000. Now you sit down and do the math. I'm earning $50,000 more a year. After tax, that's about $35,000 more. I'll save half, invest half. Easy. Except that's not what happens. 6 months later, you've upgraded the car. A year later, you've moved into a slightly bigger house with a slightly bigger mortgage. Your kid switched to a better school. You started eating out more. You bought the nicer phone, the nicer watch, the nicer vacations. And here's the cruel part, none of it felt extravagant. Every single decision felt reasonable. Each one earned. Each one deserved. This is what behavioral economists call the hedonic treadmill, but in your 40s it has a more specific name: the income lifestyle lock. The math. Let me show you the numbers. A man earning $90,000 who saves 15%, that's about $13,500 a year, will have roughly $310,000 in retirement accounts after 15 years at a 7% return. Now take the same man, except his income jumped to $140,000 at 40. He's also saving 15%, but 15% of his new income, about $21,000 a year. On paper, he should beat the first man by a wide margin, except his lifestyle expanded with his income. His monthly fixed costs rose by $2,800, so the actual extra savings, around $4,000 a year, not $7,500. After 15 years, the math gives him roughly $400,000, a difference of just $90,000. Despite earning over $750,000 more in cumulative income, he worked harder, earned more, stressed more, and ended up only marginally ahead. That's the trap. Rehook. And if you think trap 1 is uncomfortable, trap 2 is the one that quietly takes out high earners between 43 and 47, and almost nobody sees it coming. Trap number 2. The catch-up risk trap. Up somewhere around 43. Something psychological flips in most men. You start doing the math backward. If I'm 43 and I want to retire at 60, I have 17 years. The average S&P return is around 10%. To reach $1.5 million, I need to save about $X per month. And then you realize $X is more than you can comfortably save. This is the moment most men make the single most expensive decision of their entire investing life. They decide they need to catch up, and catch up almost always means one thing: taking on more risk. The behavioral pattern. Suddenly, the S&P 500 index fund feels boring, slow, inadequate. Now you're looking at individual stocks. Maybe options. Maybe crypto. Maybe a friend's startup. Maybe a real estate syndication someone pitched at a dinner party. Maybe leveraged ETFs because they return more. And here's the thing, sometimes these baits work. For a while. That's what makes the trap so dangerous. You make 40% on something in 6 months, and now every boring decision feels like a mistake. But statistically, across thousands of men in this exact age bracket, the catch-up risk strategy ends one way, with significantly less than they would have had if they'd just stayed the course. The math. Dalbar, the financial research firm, has been tracking investor returns for 30 years. Their data is brutally consistent. The average investor underperforms the S&P 500 by about 3 to 4 percentage points per year. Not because of bad investments, because of bad timing. They buy after things have gone up. They sell after things have gone down. They chase what's hot. Now apply that to a man in his 40s with $300,000 invested. Over 20 years, the difference between 10% returns and 6.5% returns is roughly $1.2 million. Read that again. $1.2 million gone. Not because the market did anything unusual. Because his behavior changed when he turned 43 and started panicking about catching up. Pattern interrupt. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because trap 3 is the one that you can't see, even when you're standing inside it. Even when someone tells you you're inside it. It's the trap that makes successful men feel broke, despite being objectively wealthy. And it has a name, trap number 3, the invisible net worth illusion set up in the financial planning world. They call it house rich, cash poor, but that name doesn't capture how psychologically painful this trap actually is. Picture this man. He's 46. He owns a $700,000 house with about $400,000 in equity. He has $180,000 in his 401k. He drives a paid-off car. By any objective measure, he has a net worth somewhere north of $580,000. He's wealthier than 78% of American households. And yet, if you asked him how he feels about money, he'd tell you he feels stuck, pressured, behind. Why this happens? Here's why. Of that $580,000, only about $20,000 is actually liquid. The rest is locked inside a house he lives in, and a retirement account he can't touch for 14 more years. His net worth statement looks great. His monthly cash flow feels like a prison. This is the invisible net worth illusion. You're objectively wealthy, but you have no usable money. Every emergency feels catastrophic. Every opportunity feels out of reach. Every financial decision feels heavy. And here's the dangerous part. Because you feel broke, you start making decisions like someone who is broke. You pass on opportunities. You avoid risk. You stop investing in yourself. You take side gigs that pay a fraction of your hourly rate at work. The solution framework. The men who escape this trap do one specific thing differently in their early 40s. They build what's called a liquid wealth ratio. Their rule is simple. For every dollar locked in a house or retirement account, they keep at least 25 cents in accessible cash, brokerage accounts, or short-term investments. That ratio sounds boring, but it's the difference between feeling wealthy and feeling trapped. It's the difference between sleeping at night and waking up at 3 a.m. running mental math. Asterisk. And speaking of sleeping at night, trap 4 is the one I see destroy more marriages, more careers, and more long-term plans than the other for combined. Because it doesn't feel like a money trap. It feels like success. Trap number 4. The golden handcuff trap. Step. There's a specific type of job that becomes a trap in your 40s. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. You don't love it. You don't hate it. You're good at it. It pays well. The benefits are excellent. The 401k match is generous. Maybe there's stock that vests over the next 3 years. Maybe a pension. Maybe a bonus structure that just one more year could meaningfully change your life. And so you stay. Not because you want to. Because the math doesn't let you leave. The hidden cost. This is the golden handcuff trap. And here's what nobody tells you about it. Every year you stay in a job you've outgrown, you're paying an invisible tax. That tax has 3 forms. First, the skill stagnation tax. Your earning potential elsewhere quietly erodes because you stop learning, stop networking, stop building. After 5 years in a comfortable job, your market value can be 20% lower than it should be. Second, the energy tax. You come home drained. You don't build the side business. You don't invest in the new skill. You don't take the meeting. The compounding of small actions stops compounding. Third, the identity tax. Your sense of who you are gets tied to a job that no longer serves you. When you eventually do leave, voluntarily or not, the psychological rebuild can take years. The math, let me give you the cleanest example. A man at 42 has a job paying $130,000. The same role at a competitor pays $165,000. He stays because his bonus this year is $22,000, and it would be foolish to leave before that. Now extend that decision over 8 years. That $35,000 gap, compounded with raises and 401k matches, equals roughly $380,000 in lost earnings. All because of a $22,000 bonus he didn't want to walk away from. That's not even counting the entrepreneurial leap he didn't take, the consulting practice he didn't build, the savings he didn't compound. Reframe: the men who escape this trap do one thing differently. They calculate their staying cost once a year. They sit down, usually in January, and answer one question. If I stayed in this exact position for the next 5 years, what would I gain, and what would I lose? Most don't quit, but they stop sleepwalking. And that single hour of honest math, every January, is worth more than most financial advice you'll ever pay for. Bridge to final trap, and now we get to the trap that ties all 4 of the others together. The trap most men don't recognize until they're already inside it. The one I've been hinting at since the beginning of this video. Trap number 5. The time blindness trap. Up in your 20s, time feels infinite. In your 30s, it feels abundant. In your 40s, something strange happens. Time starts feeling both faster and further away at the same time. You think retirement is still 20 years away, which feels comfortable. And simultaneously, you can't believe your kid is already in high school, that your parents are already retired, that you've been at the same company for 11 years. This is the time blindness trap. And it's the meta trap, the one that quietly enables all the others. Why it matters: here's the math that breaks most people when they finally do it. At age 42. If you invest $1,000 a month at a 7% return, by age 65 you'll have roughly $720,000. Sounds great. Until you do the same math starting just 5 years earlier, at age 37, and you end up with $1.1 million. That's a $380,000 difference for delaying just 60 months. 60 months of I'll start when things calm down. 60 months of I'll wait until after we move. 60 months of next quarter. When the bonus comes in, every month between 40 and 50 is worth roughly 2.4 times what every month between 20 and 30 is worth. Not because the math is different, but because the runway is shorter. The real lesson: the men who win their 40s financially aren't necessarily smarter, richer, or more disciplined than everyone else. They just figured out one thing earlier. Their 40s aren't a still plenty of time decade. They're the most leveraged decade in a man's financial life. Every decision counts more. Every dollar invested compounds harder. Every habit becomes more permanent. Asterisk: if this video gave you even one uncomfortable moment of recognition, that's a good sign. That's awareness. That's the first move out of any trap. If you found this useful, hit subscribe. I make videos like this every week, and the next one walks through the exact 4-step framework wealthy men use to escape trap 3 specifically. You don't want to miss it. Drop a comment below. Which trap hit hardest? I read them all. This was educational, not advice. Your decisions are yours. I'll see you in the next one.